When I was younger, of course, I always loved rap music. It's a huge influence on me. Everything I do, hip hop, rap, trap, all of it, I love it. And we always like freestyle rapping. You know what I'm saying? Like that was like hard to do, bro. It is hard to rhyme in time, like especially when you're playing a beat. Like rhyming, like without a beat, it's a little bit easier. But when you got a beat and it's forcing you to stay in time, and you got to next syllable and the next phrase and think of the next word I'm with, that's so intriguing to me. And then once I figured out that jazz is exactly that, but with phrase notes. And the thing of the next, that blew my fucking mind, because my whole perspective of music back then was reading notes off the page, learning your scales, playing in tune, being, just Johnny on the spot at rehearsal. Right. I had no idea that people could freestyle on a saxophone.
Right.
And bro, I already played the saxophone. Like, what the fuck? Teach me how to do this shit. So then going to, Jamie Ebersol camps and like learning how to do jazz. Like, what do you do? And then, life's fucking been crazy ever since then, because it just
that's a great comparison, improvisation and jazz and then freestyle rapping, because you're right, it's all you've got your vocabulary, your language with jazz improvising, and you've got language in rap obviously because you're talking. That's a great comparison. I like that.
Yeah, just to add, there is like, I don't know, this exists in pedagogy, I believe, in general, just teaching music. This idea that Western classical music is the only way to gain facility on an instrument. And that's not necessarily an inherently bad thing to learn classical first. In fact, I'm very thankful that I learned classical music first.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it gave me the facilities to do what I can do now. But with that being said, in the school systems, there's just not as much funding allocated towards jazz programs. And that's mainly because it's not just that teachers are out to get jazz students, or it's the devil's music. That's long gone. Now it's...
Give me a break. Yeah. My bad. You good? Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry. Continue.
Okay. Well, I mean, basically, yes.
Oh my God.
Is some... Okay.
My bad. It's my monitor. All right, go ahead.
First going to James' idea, this improvisation. And like I said, Kevin, it is a language, just like freestyling and stuff like that. So you have these things in your head that work over particular chord changes and stuff like that. And so the first part, is just plugging those in. And if you don't know anything, like if you don't have any vocabulary, that's when you go to the records and you transcribe. Yeah. So those are the two most important steps, I would say, is number one, finding stuff that you think sounds good, copying it almost exactly to a T, and then using that in your own improvisation.
Yeah. And here's the thing that's so vicious about all this stuff is when you transcribe a solo, you can transcribe it and spend time with it and play it for a whole year straight. But once you move on to the next one, sometimes you forget that first one. So it's like everything you do just kind of comes at a cost, and that cost is time. So it's like the more time you have, the more you can devote to this, the better you can get. But if you don't have that much time, you're going to be forgetting a lot of shit all the time. Like I've learned hundreds of solos, and I don't think I could pick up my horn and play one right now. You know what I'm saying? Back then when I learned it, I could play the shit out of it. But now it's like I pick it up and I can only have bits and pieces. And the bits and pieces that you can remember that stick in your mind are the ones that you use in your playing. Right. So it's like still there's a debate on whether or not transcribing is even worth it because of that simple fact. Because you learn this whole solo and then you forget it and you don't really pull that much out of it. But if you can to take specific parts and keep that in your playing for years and years, then you just make that player's language. Yeah. It's really, like some people say you shouldn't do it and some people say you should only do it. So,
well, I think, furthering that, I think that transcription is an integral part of learning jazz music, but, there are there are players out there. Take for instance I think one of the best tenor saxophonists alive, Chris Potter. He's in a master class. I think it's at Berkeley. It's online on YouTube for everyone to check out. It's like 50 minutes of just awesome saxophone stuff. But he is a guy who he's never transcribed a full solo his entire career. He's never sat down and learned an entire Sonny Rollins solo. You know, all he does is he picks out the stuff that he loves, and then he learns that, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that is, you know, there are pros to that. Mostly being that you develop your personal style doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you want to be able to sound like someone, take for instance Train, then that takes many, many, many solos, full solos, in order to understand the breadth of his language.
Exactly.
So it depends on your goals, really.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like, do you remember, and the listeners at home, do you remember when you're in like 5th grade, or not even 5th grade, maybe like kindergarten, and the teacher goes, and then everyone else goes,
of course.
Yeah, that's basically the same thing. And there's stuff in pop music. These things exist not only in jazz, right? They're the lick, right? You can hear that in so many things. Is it because everyone's trying to copy the lick? No, it's because it's a series of notes that gets used just like any other.
And everybody knows it. Everybody knows, and you can put it in all 12 keys. You can put it in every song. You can put it in every transcription. You can find it in every transcription. Yeah, but that's a whole other podcast right there.
Yeah, we got a multiple podcasts we got to do with y'all because y'all got some great information.
No, we're so grateful to be here, man. Really.
Man.
Yeah,
really.
No, I'm grateful to have y'all because this is amazing. I was telling everybody, I was like, look, you know, I was sending them the live stream link. I was like, y'all got to tune in. I got this dope musician duo on here. I was like, y'all got to tune in. But Blase, real quick, put your sax up in the camera real quick. This dude got a black and gold saxophone.
Gang shit.
Well, you got a custom EX, yeah. The
no, it's the
Yamaha.
custom 5. It's the one before it.
Oh, really?
One before the custom Z.
Nice. Get that full roundabout view. What you got, Kevin? What you playing on?
Bro, look at the front. Come on, man.
No, you got the gold flowers with the black. Oh, it's too fire.
Yeah.
Kevin, what you play on? What's your alto like?
This is an EX. This is an EX. I got it originally for classical because Ron Jones, as you know, Kevin, was a Yamaha guy. So I got it way back in the day. This puppy's actually insured.
No, really?
Yeah.
Mine isn't.
Hey, don't drop it, Blase. Dang. Yeah.
My tenor isn't, but yeah. So I've been playing on this thing. I mean, before I had this, I had like a 23 or something. So
yeah,
this thing since high school.
And being able to read music. A lot of jazz players just learn jazz. They don't know how to read, and that stops them later on down the road when they need to read. And then
that's another reason what you were saying. You're thankful about growing up classically trained. You know, almost. You know, and learning how to read music, which you're right is very important. So.
Yep. Absolutely, man.
That's sweet, man. Man, we could talk about this forever. What a great show, man. I've had this is the last couple weeks. These last couple weeks, I've had really good shows, man. This is dope. So, talking about Coltrane and Jimmy Heath and Bird, who y'all listen to? Who are your biggest inspirations on sax?
On saxophone?
Yeah, and music in general, but yeah.
Redman and Sonny Rollins were like the two biggest pushes for me. Like, damn, I want to sound like these people. You know. Coltrane was always really dope, but sometimes Coltrane was a little too dope for me. You know?
I was gonna say, so how many Coltrane solos have you transcribed?
Coltrane's fucking hard, man.
I was gonna say, props to you if you could even, I'm sure you can, but no, I know.
It just takes time, bro. Like I said, it takes so much time. It doesn't just, you can't just bang it out in a week, bro. This shit's gonna take you a month. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like one solo, fucking 1 minute and 39 seconds. Like that shit'll take you months, bro. You might not even get all the parts, like, cause some of the notes you can only slow it down so much to where you lose the actual pitch. And the key is slowing it down, because if you're not slowing it down, you can't do shit about it. Just be listening to it again.
Right.
But like there's a fine point of where you slow it down too much to where you lose the notes. And at that point, sometimes it sounds like it could be one of two notes, you know, like you just don't know. Like sometimes you can't write it down because it's like in between beats. And man, it's crazy. Like transcribing is a hell of a process, man.
Oh yeah. One of the first that I learned was that Mr. Jones showed me was Miles Davis's solo on So What.
Yep. That's a great one to start with, dude. That's literally, if you want to start transcribing, just go pick that solo up, man, and listen
Freddie
to
Freeloader
it.
is
And
another one.
you'll be surprised at how quick you pick that one up. Because, like, you'll be like, oh, shit, all right. Because there's only a certain amount of notes. You know what I'm saying? There's only 12 notes.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
When someone's singling them out like that and playing it that melodically, it's a little bit easier to pick up. But for me, what's really hard is transcribing chords. We've been talking about transcribing a solo, a single note line. Trying to transcribe a chord, like what is the harmony behind this note, is for me pretty much impossible. Like trying to figure out what the harmony is tough, but then trying to figure out what the voicing is after that, for me, like, man, I'm a saxophone player. That shit is just so hard, and I'm starting to pick up piano so I can get more susceptible to learning and playing by ear on a chordal instrument, because recognizing what chord is being played behind whatever given like melody note is almost more important than trying to figure out what the melody note is, because you know the harmony and the root note is what determines all of the music. You know,
the context.
Yeah,
for which...
it's the context for which the melody lives and exists in. You know, so that's a whole side to transcribing.
Facts. Gems. Y'all got all the gems.
Dude, I could talk for hours, man.
I swear, man.
You know, I this is an interesting question you were asking about who, you know, we've listened to or who our influencers are, or who our influences are. And, you know, I listen to people that I've never, ever transcribed. I mean, some of my favorite players, take, for instance, I mean, I've only transcribed a little bit of Chris Potter, and it was that lick that you just heard us play moments ago. Yeah. But I would say he's one of my favorite saxophonists, period, ever. So, you know, and that's partially because when you go to college, there's something set in place, or at least for me, the way that my professor did it is he has, for every year, you're transcribing a different person. And so my last year, I was doing train for like the whole year. And, you know, learning train on alto is interesting. It gives you a lot of insight into... I personally, like, I love this thing, don't get me wrong, but ever since I got into college, I questioned whether or not, you know, I should look at, like, playing tenor.
You should play tenor. If you're watching this, you should play tenor.
I haven't played tenor since high school.
Yeah, so, but then I bought a tenor, and I found my voice really resonates with tenor in a larger way than on alto, you know, but I learned that through partially transcribing tenor players. I mean, my first year, we were transcribing Lester Young and Ben Webster, you know, because those cats, I mean, they invented the language that we speak today, you know. And another point that I want to get to is, like, there's this weird, there's a misconception about jazz as if it's like not, bebop is a modern language. It is modern music. Bebop exists in modern music in a way that many other genres don't. You know, and like fusion and all of that, where'd that come from? Hard bop, that all came from bebop. So learning solos from 40 years ago, you would think they don't have as much context as they actually do in today's music. But the more and more you transcribe that stuff, the more you realize that everything is built off of each other, that incestuous relationship. You know, you stand on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah. And Charlie Parker, bro, he was carrying around Beethoven and Bach scores.
Yeah, like, dude, he was trying to work with Stravinsky for a while.
Yeah, he would just walk around with scores in his pocket because that's where he was getting his ideas, his licks from. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can only create so much in your mind to where you have to figure out, you have to use more external input. You got to put shit in there. You can't just create it all in here, you know? And that's what he means by standing on giants, looking at these other huge amounts of work by these huge classical composers. You know, it all comes from the classical stuff. Well, Western music does, because we use a different tonal system. So that's just, you know.
Yeah, I guess you could say it's just taking a bunch of giant steps.
You might say that, Kevin.
You might say that. You might say that if you were Coltrane.
Yeah.
But the question of jazz is dead or not, you can turn on, go look on NPR Tiny Desk and look at how many musicians have studied jazz music to get to where they are.
Yeah, well, jazz music is really just the foundation. It gives you the tools and the skills that you need to work with all other genres. You don't get that from playing classical. You might understand music a little bit and you might have some hella good fingers on you, but dude, if you're not actively practicing improvising and like comping for, you know, if you're a piano player, practicing comping for a singer, practicing comping for a horn player, practicing just being the main focus in a smaller rhythm section, like, dude, jazz is what gives you the building blocks to make all the other music. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Like when you hear that dope like R&B soul kind of like warm luscious feel in your chest, that's all jazz voicing. That's what that's. You know? So it's like
those are great points. Yeah.
It's just malted into a lot of other different kind of bugs. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just everywhere now. Like it's in all music. It's not exactly jazz, you know, they're not swinging and playing a bunch of bebop solos, but the stuff that was created in jazz is in all of it, you know?
That's amazing. Sweet. It's a whole different perspective.
Yeah. It's really just thrown together sometimes, and that's the beauty of it. It's just like freestyle rapping, man. And like being able to fully communicate with somebody, not just like another horn player, but for instance, with the drums or with the rhythm section or with the bass, being able to like vibe with them without even having to look, without having to say anything, that is like a superhuman ability. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit is crazy and it happens all the time and people don't, you know, pay enough attention to it. Well, it's probably because they don't know how crazy it is until they try to do it them damn selves, but yeah.
Huh.
Just did.
Yeah. It's
been really fun interacting with the audience because the Twitch community is just beautiful people, bro. Like these people care. Like for when the connection was really shitty, we were trying everything to fix it, bro. And the Twitch community, the people that were watching were helping us. They were like, "Hold on, let me reboot my computer. Maybe it's my connection." They all rebooted and all hopped back in the lobby and it was still shit. So they're like, "Hold on, maybe you reboot." We rebooted, came back, it was still shit. They're like, "Hold on, maybe try just like connecting the connection directly to the laptop." So I went out and bought a fucking adapter and connected it right to the laptop. I even upped the amount of internet that we're getting per month now. And still it was shit, bro, because this thing only has 8 gigs of RAM and it's just not set up to stream. So it was trash. But the Twitch community was right there for every step of the process. They were helping us even though it was almost unwatchable. And that's what just blew my mind about Twitch, bro.
Big questions here. Some of the biggest questions on the podcast is, what have you all realized about the creative scene in Louisville in recently and in the past? And when I say the creative scene, I mean literally like everything creative overall, from musicians to artists to visual artists to photographers, all that. Like, what's any big realizations that you've hit, or like what in general? Just tell me what you think.
Louisville is a hot spot that no one even fucking knows about, bro. People are sleeping on Louisville, Kentucky, and you know, everybody always talks shit about their hometown, but once you move away and you come back and you realize, man, this place is just popping, bro, because we got the perfect mix of like the urban north with like the southern hospitality mixed in between, and you know, like we got a vast variety of people here. We're right next to a river. We got a huge, beautiful downtown city with gigs and just fucking opportunity everywhere, and everybody's doing something. It's like a little miniature version of a big city. You know, we got suburbs, and then farther out we got the sticks. We got, you know, the country. But you know, I think Louisville, Kentucky is one of the most, you know, underrated cultural and artistic, you know, hot spots, you know, data centers in the whole world. So
yeah, I would second that. I also there's something that comes along with having as many nice restaurants and great food in the area. But if you look at a place like Bardstown Road, I mean, there's so many cool little shops and just people who have taken time to create a business out of what they love. I mean, I met the guy who runs Vintage Banana. He originally started reselling clothes, you know, in 2016, and he bought himself a brick and mortar store based off of his thrifting. You know, that's what everyone hopes for, is that you can turn what you love into what you do. And so, I think another thing is that there's there are a lot of venues,
Yeah.
not just for music, but we have outlets for everything. So you can go and see like a poetry slam, and the same night you can go and hear live music at a bar, and you have 8 different genres to pick from because Sally down the street is playing an R&B real chill set while Johnny McDaniels is on the 6th string. So
Yeah.
I don't know. What do you think, Kevin? This is your show. What have you learned?
Tell us something.
What have you learned from doing this show about the creatives here and the opportunity?
Well, I would say the biggest thing that I've learned just from having so many people on the show is so many different, a lot of recording artists and rappers and singers, but so many different perspectives, is people's open-mindedness. Like I've talked a lot about, like, a lot of people would say very similar things, that, Louisville is definitely underrated or that nobody knows about it. And from like, it's just the thing that I've kind of reiterated a few times is just the business side of the creative and whole entertainment that I just feel like it's just not, I'm not going to say it's not professional, but it's just not there yet. And
there exactly it, man.
I would say.
But I would say the biggest thing really is that everybody's open-minded, and then everybody that's been on the show has been, very excited about it. And like, and again, the goal is just to shine light on people like you guys and all Louisville creatives. And so, it's just, it's really interesting, and it's a lot of fun getting to host something like this, so.
Man, dude, thank you for having us, man. I can't thank you enough.
Dude, yeah.
Podcast for a minute, and it's like, it's good to be here and good
Right.
to be with Kev, dude. We have a great conversation today, man. We got so much more to talk about, man. Whenever you got a free spot, or if someone cancels on you, just hit me up, dude. We can podcast again.
Yeah, no, for sure. I've already got a guy that was on like episode 6. He's coming back in like 3 weeks. We're gonna do kind of like a recap thing, but I definitely would love to talk to y'all again for sure.
Because we can get more in depth and about mixing and mastering and playing actual scales and patterns and stuff. Like, we can go in depth on the gigs and the hiring. We can go in depth on, just meta about music being crazy in general. There's so much left to talk about, but, we don't want to leave all the leaves overturned. We want to, just so you guys can hear the harmony that relates to the melodies we're going to be laying down for you guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a song called Record-A-May. We're going to play the melody together, and then we're going to split off and take solos. And the solos is where the improvising, the freestyle rapping is going down. And that's where the dope shit happens. So let's get it. Hold up. Is it all the way turned up?
I don't know. Is it all the way turned up on here?
Yep. I guess so.
Okay.
All right.
Uh-oh. Hey.
There you go.
Hey, yo, dude. Hey, that was dope. What? I've heard that tune before. What did you say it was?
Called Recordame.
Recordame. Yeah, that's a Joe Henderson tune, right?
Yep.
Yeah, dude, awesome. So, real quick, guys, Kevin was calling out like 4s and 2s. So at the end there, they're every 4 bars they're playing over the chord changes, and then they switch. So they would go through the whole tune with the chord changes, doing a solo, and then they'd come back, and then they would trade off 4 bars and trade off 2s. And even I see, Kevin, you were playing chords under a little bit under Blase, just a little bit at one point. That just kind of goes along with what we were talking about, like that connection that y'all got, like y'all just knew and y'all play together so much.
You just kind of play, chord tones underneath, try to make them sound good,
Right. Yep. Just like a little booster. That's awesome, man. It's super dope.